Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Welcome to the Sri Vidya Temple's class on Ganapati Atharvashirsham, which is also known as Ganapati Upanishad. Last time we started, so this is the second class. So we've already gone up through the fourth section. So we'll be starting with the fifth section tonight. So I'll start with the Ganapati prayer. Om Shuklam Bharadharam Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarva Viknopa Shantaye. So Charu Auntie, you can start us off. Okay. So you can just, okay. All right, so starting from number 5. Sarvam Jagadidam.
Sarvam Jagadidam. Sarvam Jagadidam.
Tvatto Jayate.
Tvatto Jayate. Tvatto Jayate.
So the very first one is the upper swara.
Yeah.
Tvatto, tvatto.
Tvatto.
Okay.
Tvatto.
Now the whole line. Sarvam Jagadidam Tvatto Jayate.
Sarvam Jagadidam Tvatto Jayate. Sarvam Jagadidam Tvatto Jayate.
Good. And then in the next one, I'll just do the second line because the Sarvam Jagadidam repeats.
Okay.
Tvattastisthati.
Tvattastishtati. Tvattastishtati.
Sarvam Jagadidam Tvattastisthati.
Sarvam Jagadidam Tvattastishtati. Sarvam Jagadidam Tvattastishtati.
Good. Just make sure in the word tvattas. So first is twat, and then next is tas.
Tvattas.
Okay.
Tvatta.
That's it. So now I'll do the whole line.
Mhm.
Sarvam Jagadidam Tvattastisthati.
Sarvam Jagadidam Tvattastishtati. Sarvam Jagadidam Tvattastishtati.
Good. Next one. Tvahilayameshyati.
Tvayilayameshyati. Tvayimayalvimeshyati.
Tvayilayameshyati. Okay, now I'll do the whole line. Sarvam Jagadidam Tvahilayameshyati.
Sarvam Jagadidam Tvayilayameshyati. Sarvam Jagadidam Tvayilayameshyati.
It's very close. This one is a little tricky with the swaras. So if you look at it, the twahi and la is all on the middle note, and then ya goes up. So what I'll do is I'll repeat this line myself 4 times so that you can hear it repeated in the melody. So if you can just mute yourself and I'll chant 4 times by myself. Okay. Sarvam jagadidam tvahi layameshyati. Sarvam jagadidam tvahi layameshyati. Sarvam jagadidam tvahi layameshyati. Sarvam jagadidam tvahi layameshyati. Okay.
You want to repeat?
Sure, you can try it.
Okay. Sarvam jagadidam tvayi layameshyati. Sarvam jagadidam tvayi layameshyati.
That's it. Now the next line. Tvaya pratyeti.
Tvayi pratyeti. Tvayi pratyeti.
So here there's holding on the ip and then the at. Tvaya pratyeti.
Tvayi pratyeti. Tvayi pratyeti.
That's it. Now the whole line. Sarvam jagadidam tvaya pratyeti.
Sarvam jagadidam tvayi pratyeti. Sarvam jagadidam tvayi pratyeti.
Good. Now the next line. Tvam bhumirapo.
Tvam bhumirapo. Tvam bhumirapo.
Tvam bhumirapo nalo.
Tvam bhumirapo nalo. Tvam bhumirapo nalo.
Tvam bhumirapo nalo nilo nabhaha.
Tvam bhumirapo nalo nilo namaha. Tvam bhumirapo nalo nilo napaha.
It's very close. This one I find very tricky because first it's like nalo and then nilo. And also the nalo is all on one note and then ni goes up and then down. So it's a bit of a tongue twister in that one. So I recommend practicing that nalo nilo nabaha because that's like the tongue gets caught up on that. So I'm just going to repeat that one section. Nalo nilo nabhaha. Sorry. You can repeat that one.
Nalo nilo navaha. Nalo nilo navaha.
That's it. So now I'll try the whole line again, slowly. Tvam bhumirapo nalo nilo nabhaha.
Tvam bhumirapo nalo nilo navaha. Tvam bhumirapo nalo nilo navaha.
That's it. Good. Tvam chatvari.
Tvam chatvari. Tvam chatvari.
Vaakpadani.
Vaakpadani. Vaakpadani.
Tvam chatvari chattvari vakpadani.
Tvam chattvari vakpadhani. Tvam chattvari vakpadhani.
That's very good. In this line, the sound in Dani is like the regular the. It sounded a little like you were saying more like the Mahaprana dha, but this is the regular the sound. So padani, padani.
Vakpadhani.
Mhm. So in this section, the meaning is going a little bit back to one of the earlier sections. So Sarvam Jagadidam, this entire cosmos, this entire universe, Tvatto Jayate, is born from you, O Ganapati. And then again, this entire universe, Sarvam Jagadidam, Tvattas Tishtati, is maintained by you, is preserved by you. And then finally, this entire universe, Twahi Layaneshyati, is going to be dissolved or merged back into you, O Ganapati. So this layam, it's like merging back into the original state or the original divine consciousness. Sarvam Jagadidam Tvaya Pratyeti. So this is how the entire universe returns back to you, returns back to Ganapati, the original energy. And that next we have Tvam Bhumirapo Nalo Nilo Nabaha. This is Bhumihi, Apaha, Analaha, Anilaha, Nabaha. Bhumi like earth, Apa, water, then fire, air, and space. So all the Panchabhutas are nothing but Ganapati. Finally, we have the line Tvanchatvari Vakpadani. So this is the 4 types of speech. Vaikari, Madhyama, Pashyanti, and Para. And so what's interesting is that this para, the original or the originating form of the speech actually starts in the Muladhara chakra. That's the yogic view of speech, that speech starts in the Muladhara. And as it rises through the chakras, it becomes like the other forms and becomes more and more to the physical level. And then finally, when it comes here to the Vishuddhi in the throat, then it becomes physical speech. But it's starting in the Muladhara, and that's where Ganapati is. So that's kind of an interesting connection there. So now we'll go to the next one. So maybe Shirisha Amma, if you want to repeat the lines now. Okay. Twang Gornatraya.
Tvam gunatraya. Tvam gunatraya.
Twang Gornatrayatitaha.
Tvam gunatrayatitaha. Tvam gunatrayatitaha.
Good. So I noticed both of you are pronouncing Anuswara like the sound, which is fine. That's a good way to practice in the beginning when you're still learning something. As you get more familiar and as you're practicing, you can also work on pronouncing the Anuswara according to the sound that follows. So as opposed to Twam Gurnatraya, it would be like Twang, Twang Gurnatraya. It also may be a little bit hard to hear me over the Zoom connection. But just keep that in mind a little bit. And you can also listen to the Chalakere brothers because that may be a little bit more clear of a recording, and you can turn the volume up a bit and really listen to how they're pronouncing Anuswara, and you can practice that later on. Okay, so that's that line. Next we have Tvam Avasthatraya.
Tvam avastatraya. Tvam avastatraya.
Good. Just notice how in Avasthatraya, the A doesn't go down. It's the same middle note. So this is where it's a little tricky because sometimes there's a pattern and the pattern is followed very clearly from line to line. But sometimes it'll switch it up a little bit and it's slightly different. So we just want to sort of pay attention and watch out for those little changes in the melody. So we're not just chanting a different swara. Also, like very frequently, if you have a word like this tvam avastha trayatitaha, you would link together the tvam and avastha. But here it's very clearly written separately in the text in Devanagari, and also the Chalakere brothers very clearly make a pause there. So that's why we're chanting this way. So I'll do it one more time. Tvam avasthatrayatitaha
त्वम् अवस्थात्रयातीतः त्वम् अवस्थात्रयातीतः.
Very good. Just keep just practice the swaras of that avasthat, avasthat, avasthat.
अवस्था अवस्था.
Okay, now the next line. Tvandehatraya.
त्वं देहत्रया त्वं देहत्रया.
Good. Tvandehatrayatitaha.
त्वं देव. Sorry, I keep saying wow. त्वं देहत्रयातीतः त्वं देहत्रयातीतः.
Good. Now the next line. Tvangalatraya.
त्वं कालत्रया त्वं कालत्रया. Is that la or ala?
It depends on who's chanting. Like if you look in the Devanagari, like most Devanagari texts won't indicate that erla sound. Sometimes they do, but very frequently they won't. So a lot of people, if they come from a part of India where they pronounce that sound for this word kala, in many places in South India, they say kala. Then they'll pronounce it that way, no matter what's written in the Devanagari. So I leave that up to whatever people are accustomed to, how they say that word, because it is referring to kala, the time.
Time. Okay.
So many people in South India do pronounce that word with that particular L sound, the retroflex L, Karla. Many people do. Okay, so I'll do that line one more time. Tvangalatrayatitaha.
त्वं कालत्रयातीतः त्वं कालत्रयातीतः.
Very good. One other small thing to watch out for, in the ends of all of these lines, there's a tendency, and sometimes I do it too, to go up on the final one, like titaha. But if you look in the text, that the ending taha is just the middle, regular middle note.
Okay.
Titaha. Okay, so you can just practice that. And now the next line. Tvam mooladharas.
त्वं मूलाधारस् त्वं मूलाधारस्.
Good. Now just notice it's all the middle note. Tvam mooladharas.
त्वं मूलाधारस्
That's it. Sthitosi nityam.
Stitosi nityam. Stitosi nityam.
Tvam mooladharasthitosi nityam.
Tvam mooladharasthitosi nityam. Tvam mooladharasthitosi nityam.
Good. Here, the Chalakedi brothers will pronounce this as Mooladhare Stitosi. Mooladhare. But it's not written that way in Mantra Pushpam, and many people chant it like Mooladhara. And they even mentioned in their lesson online that it's both have the same meaning. So either one can be chanted, both are referring to being established in the Mooladhara chakra. So same meaning is there. Okay, now the next line. Tvam shakti trayatmakaha.
Tvam shakti trayatmakaha. Tvam shakti trayatmakaha.
That's very good. Just only thing is that the tra sound is the upper note.
Upper note.
Tvam shakti trayatmakaha.
Tvam shakti trayatmakaha. Tvam shakti trayatmakaha.
Makaha.
Tvam shakti trayatmakaha. Trayatmakaha.
Good.
Is that?
It is. It'll just take a little bit of practice. CG is just send a message. Let me see.
It looks like he joined.
Yeah, he did join just recently. Let me check one thing. Okay, I think that'll do it. Okay, all right. So now, okay, so we'll do the next line. Twan yogino.
Tvam yogino. Tvam yogino.
Dhyayanti nityam.
Dhyayanti nityam. Dhyayanti nityam.
Twan yogino dhyayanti nityam.
Tvam yogino dhyayanti nityam. Tvam yogino dhyayanti nityam.
Good. Now this next line is a little bit challenging because it's a very long one that goes continuously. And there are some places where there's holding and then some places where there isn't holding. So it's a little tricky. It takes more practice than the other lines. So we'll just go through it a little bit slowly, section by section. Tvam Brahma Tvam.
Tvam Brahma Tvam Tvam Brahma Tvam
Vishnustvam
Vishnustvam Vishnustvam
Rudrastvamindras
Rudrastvamindras Rudrastvamindras
Tvamagnistvam
Tvamagnistvam Tvamagnistvam
Vayustvam
Vayustvam Vayustvam
Suryastvam
Suryastvam Suryastvam
Chandramasstvam
Chandramasstvam Chandramasstvam
Brahmabhur
Brahmabhur Brahmabhur
Bhuvaswarom
Bhuvaswarom Bhuvaswarom.
Good. And in many versions, people will say Bhuvasuvarom, Suva, like Suvaha. But if you hear some people chanting Gayatri, they'll say Om Bhur Bhuvasuvaha, and some will say Om Bhur Bhuvaswaha. So Suvaha, Swaha, it's just two variations of the same thing. But because Chalakere brothers chant it like Bhuvaswarom, and that's also how it's written in Mantra Pushpam, that's why I put it that way here. But just for everyone to know that there is one other variation. Okay, so now let's start linking the sections up a little bit. Tvam Brahma, Tvam Vishnustvam
Tvam Brahma Tvam Vishnustvam Tvam Brahm Tvam Brahm Tvam Brahma Tvam Vishnustvam.
Good. And if you'll notice, like every syllable is the same middle note up until the point when you get to Brahma Bhur Bhuva Suvarom, and then there's the variation, but everything else is just one middle note. Rudrastvam Indrastvam Agnistvam
Rudrastvam Indrastvam Agnistvam Rudrastvam Indrastvam Agnistvam
Vayustvam Suryastvam Chandramasstvam
Vayustvam Suryastvam Chandramasstvam Vayustvam Suryastvam Chandramasstvam.
Okay, let's go back to the first section all on one line. Tvam Brahma, Tvam Vishnustvam Rudrastvam Indrastvam Agnistvam
Tvam Brahma Tvam Vishnustvam Rudrastvam Indrastvam Agnistvam Tvam Brahma Tvam Vishnustvam Rudrastvam Indrastvam Agnistvam.
Very good. Just watch out for the melody that starts to come in. It's very
Yeah.
natural. Very often, when we're chanting, it's very easy for that to happen. So just you can work on practicing all in one even note when you're practicing later on. Now let's try the second part. Vayustvam suryastvam chandramastam brahma bhurbhuvaswarom.
वायुस्त्वं सूर्यस्त्वं चन्द्रमास्त्वं ब्रह्म भुवस्वरोम् वायुस्त्वं सूर्यस्त्वं चन्द्रमास्त्वं ब्रह्म भूर्भुवस्वरोम्.
That's very good. The very final part, bhuvaswarom.
Bhuvaswarom.
That's it. All right, so we'll just try one time doing the entire thing start to finish. So don't worry if there's any mistakes because it's a very long one and it takes a lot of practice, but we'll just try it. So I'll go first. Tvam Brahma, Tvam Vishnustvam Rudrastvam Indrastvam Agnistvam Vayustvam Suryastvam Chandramastam Brahma Bhurbhuvaswarom.
त्वं ब्रह्मा त्वं विष्णुस्त्वं रुद्रस्त्वमिन्द्रस्त्वमग्निस्त्वं वायुस्त्वं सूर्यस्त्वं चन्द्रमास्त्वं ब्रह्म भूर्भुवस्वरोम्. I think the melody keep coming. I just put some kind of.
It was very good. It was really very, very good. This is definitely challenging, especially like the holding, because a lot of the time there's holding on the twam, and then all of a sudden it's twamindras. It gets linked together. So that part is very challenging, but you did really well. So the only thing is just practice a little bit the final part. Brahma Bhurbhuvaswarom. Just practice that a little bit by itself when you're practicing later, and then link it all together in one line. But no worries, that was very good. So maybe what I'll do is I'll just go back to where we started today and just I'll do what we've learned so far as review, and then we'll go on from there. Sarvam jagadidam tvatto jayate, sarvam jagadidam tvattastisthati, sarvam jagadidam tvahi layameshyati, sarvam jagadidam tvaya pratyeti, tvam bhumirapo nalo nilo nabha, Tvanchattari va akpadani, Tvam gunatrayatitaha, Tvam avasthatrayatitaha, Tvam dehatrayatitaha, Tvam galatrayatitaha, Tvam mooladharasthitosi nityam, Tvam shaktitrayatmakaha, Tvam yogino dhyayanti nityam. Tvam Brahma, Tvam Vishnustvam Rudrastvam Indrastvam Agnistvam Vayustvam Suryastvam Chandramastam Brahma Bhurbhuvaswarom. So in this section, there's a series of three things, and the Rishi is saying that Ganapati is beyond all these things. So Traya means three, Atita or Atitaha means beyond. So Tvam Gunatrayatitaha, you're beyond the three gunas. Avasthatraya, you're beyond the three avasthas or the states of consciousness like waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. Tvandehatrayatitaha, you're beyond the three bodies. If you think of the bodies as three in number, you would say like the the sukshma sharira, stula sharira, karana sharira, the physical body, subtle body, and causal body. Tvangala trayatitaha, you're beyond the three times, past, present, and future. Tvam mooladhara sthitosi nityam. You're always established in the Mooladhara chakra. And to me, this is really like the very much the key of this entire Upanishad. Tvam Shakti Triyatmakaha. You're the very soul of the three Shaktis, the three Devis. And you can think of this like Saraswati, Lakshmi, and Devi as the three Devis. Or some people might interpret this like Ichha Shakti, Jnana Shakti, Kriya Shakti. As the three Shaktis. And then Tvam Yogino Dhyayanti Nityam. So the yogis are always meditating on you in this way. Tvam Brahma. So then this next section with the whole long series is basically saying Tvam Brahma, you're Brahma. Tvam Vishnu, you're Vishnu. Tvam Rudraha, you're Rudra. So you're Indra, you're Agni, you're the wind, the fire, the sun, the moon. Brahma Bhur Bhuvaswarom, the Brahma, the entire Brahman that pervades the three levels like Bhuhu, Bhuvaha, and Suvaha or Swaha. So this is like saying the universal form of Ganapati, and also that sort of affirming the reality that there's no separation between the deities. There's no like, the gods are not separate. They're all part of the same divine reality. So this is just saying, oh, Ganapati, like all the forms are in you. Like you are that divine reality. All those forms are also the supreme divine reality. So now we'll go on to the next section, the seventh section. So Sriji, if you want to repeat the lines.
Sure, Rika.
Garnadim purvamucharya.
Ganadim purvamucharya. Ganadim purvamucharya.
Varnadim tadanantaram.
Varnadim tadanantaram. Varnadim tadanantaram.
So here in many versions, you'll see Varnadim Stadanantara. Stada. But the Chalakere brothers said clearly in their video that it's Varnadim and then Tadanantaram, like Tat Anantaram. So that's how I've written it, since that makes a bit more sense grammatically too. So now I'll do the whole line.
Rekta, there is no upper swara on de, ganadim and varnadim, right? Because in this, what you call our home Agni Mukam, I have the upper swaras on both. Ganadim, dim.
Right. There are definitely variations in the swaras,
Okay.
because this is more like Atharva Veda, and Atharva Veda tends to have quite a bit of variation in the swaras. So because there are so many changes, I listened to what the Chalakere brothers did, and I followed that just to be sort of consistent with that tradition. I think it's the same way in Mantra Pushpam as well. I believe so. But again, there can be variations always. It's natural. But I felt following the Chalakere brothers is always a pretty safe bet. So that's what I did. Garna, excuse me, my throat's a little sore. Garnadim purvamucharya varnadim tadanantaram.
Ganadim purvamucharya varnadim tadanantaram. गणादिं पूर्वमुच्चार्य वर्णादिं तदनन्तरम्
अनुस्वारः परतरः
अनुस्वारः परतरः अनुस्वारः परतरः
अर्धेन्दुलसितम्
अर्धे एन्दुलसितम् अर्धे एन्दुलसितम्
तारेण रुद्धम्
तारेण रुद्धम् तारेण रुद्धम्
एतत्तव मनुस्वरूपम्
एतत्तव मनुस्वरूपम् एतत्तव मनुस्वरूपम्
गकारः पूर्वरूपम्
गकारः पूर्वरूपम् गकारः पूर्वरूपम्
अकारो मध्यमरूपम्
अकारो मध्यमरूपम् अकारो मध्यमरूपम्
अनुस्वारश्च अन्त्यरूपम्
अनुस्वारश्च आन्त्यरूपम् अनुस्वारश्च आन्त्यरूपम्
इन्दुरुत्तररूपम्
बिन्दुरुत्तररूपम् बिन्दुरुत्तररूपम्
नादः सन्धानम्
नादसन्धानम् नादसन्धानम्
सगुंहिता सन्धिः
सगुंहिता सगुंहिता सन्धिः सगुंहिता सन्धिः.
So in this next line, there's another variation. Many versions say Ganesha Vidya, and that's what it says in Mantra Pushpam. But for some reason, the Chalakere brothers were explaining in their lesson online that it should be Ganesha Vidya, Ganesha. And when they explained it, there were no subtitles in the video, so I don't know what their explanation was. But they were very clear about that. So that's why I put it this way here. But just as a warning in the temple, we don't chant it that way. We say Ganesha Vidya. Saisha Ganesha Vidya.
सैषा गणेश विद्या सैषा गणेश विद्या
Ganakarashihi.
गणकऋषिः गणकऋषिः
Nichrat Gayatri Chandaha.
निचृद्गायत्री छन्दः निचृद्गायत्री छन्दः.
And in this line again, there's variation. I think frequently we'll say Ganapatir Devata, but both Chalakere brothers and also Ramesh, Nataraj, and Aya will say Sri Maha Ganapatir Devata. And that sounded a little more sweet to my ears. So I put it that way. Shri Mahaganapatirvata.
Shri Mahaganapatirvata. Shri Mahaganapatirvata.
Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha.
Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha.
So this entire section has been all about Ganapati's mantra swarupam. So it's like switching from a very philosophical viewpoint to talking about the bija mantra for Ganapati, which is Gam. Most people know Gam Bijakshara is the like the Mula mantra for Ganapati. So basically, it's just saying the first to be spoken is the G sound. Then immediately after that comes A. Then follows Anuswara, the sound. And then there's some other mention of like Ardhendulasitam, is actually referring to it will shine with the light of the half moon. Indu is moon, Ardha is half, Lasitam means shining or glowing. So this is like a reference to Chandra Bindu, which is the way Anuswara is sometimes written in a bija mantra, like the crescent moon and then the little dot, Chandra, and then Bindu. But it's a very poetic way of expressing that, saying like the mantra should shine with the half moon. So that's just saying this is your form, and then it basically repeats it again. Gakara purva rupam, first form is ga, then a is the middle, then anuswara is the final, then bindu above, and then all these sounds together are the Ganesha Vidya, the mantra for Ganapati. And then it talks about who is the rishi for this mantra. Ganaka is the rishi. What is the chandas of the mantra? Nichrid Gayatri is the chandas. Who is the devata? Sri Mahaganapati, of course. And then it spells out the entire mantra. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. So that's like the main mantra for Ganapati. So I'll just, sure.
When you chant Om Gam Gadapataye Namaha, you had a pause after Gam. Is that the convention that after a bija, like a letter, you pause?
It can be. So, and I think there was a little discussion of this in the lesson by Srinivasaji. But again, there were no subtitles, so I was kind of like trying to guess what he was explaining. But I've heard Ramesh Aya talk about this a little bit too. Like when there's a bija mantra, that's often treated a little bit differently from a regular word that ends in anuswara. So if you're thinking of it as a separate entity like Om, then you can pronounce it like Om and then go on to the next sound. So same thing with Gam, because that's also a bija. So
Okay.
I happen to like pronouncing them in that way. Partly because Karunamayi Amma once said that when you make that sound, the vibration travels to the Sahasrara chakra. And she referred to that as the Bindu chakra. So I happen to like making that sound for Bijaksharas for that reason.
Okay. And so when you pause, you will not be also modifying it. It'll be pronounced as
Yeah. So,
Got
but
it.
if you're chanting it for like many times, then it's very like natural or normal to say Om Gang Ganapataye Namaha, Om Gang Ganapataye Namaha. So that would also be like acceptable. It's just one of those things, like it can go either way. But there is a bit of a convention that when it's a bijakshara, you can pronounce it a little bit separately as the ending.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. So we're almost to 8 o'clock, but we started a little bit late. So I think I'll just chant this last section one time through, and then maybe we can just do the Gayatri mantra that comes next, and then we can end for this class.
गणादिं पूर्वमुच्चार्य वर्णादिं तदनन्तरम् अनुस्वारः परतरः अर्धेन्दुलसितं तारेण रुद्धम् एतत्तव मनुस्वरूपम् गकारः पूर्वरूपम् अकारो मध्यमरूपम् अनुस्वारश्च अन्त्यरूपम् बिन्दुरुत्तररूपम् नादः सन्धानम् सगुंहिता सन्धिः सैषा गणेशविद्या कणकऋषिः निचृत्कायत्री छन्दः श्रीमहागणपतिर्देवता ॐ गं गणपतये नमः.
Okay, so CG, if you can just repeat it for the final Gayatri. So next comes the Gayatri mantra, or one of them, for Ganapati.
एकदन्ताय विद्महे
एकदन्ताय विद्महे एकदन्ताय विद्महे
वक्रतुण्डाय धीमहि
वक्रतुण्डाय धीमहि वक्रतुण्डाय धीमहि
एकदन्ताय विद्महे वक्रतुण्डाय धीमहि
एकदन्ताय विद्महे वक्रतुण्डाय धीमहि एकदन्ताय विद्महे वक्रतुण्डाय धीमहि
तन्नो दन्ती प्रचोदयात्
तन्नो दन्ति प्रचोदयात् तन्नो दन्ति प्रचोदयात्.
So here there's another slight variation where sometimes it'll say dantif prachodayat, dantihi instead of danti. So this is another place where the Chalakiri brothers clarified that they pronounce it as danti. And I think by their explanation, they were saying that the other form of Gayatri, which starts Tat Purushaya Vidmahe Vakratundaya Dhimahi, in that one, it's dantif prachodayat. But he felt that in this version, starting with Ekadantaya, that it's actually Danti Prachodaya. So very similar meaning, but just a small variation. So I mean, I think either one is probably fine. But just for consistency's sake, I put it in the way that Chalakiri brothers chant it. All right, so we can stop there. So in the next class, we can just finish up very quickly with the final parts and then maybe do a little bit of practice of this. So we'll finish up with the next one. Any other questions on anything from this class? Okay. All right, then. Thanks everyone for joining, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hector. Good night.